Hello guys from the remote corner of northeastern Ukraine, the town of Trostyanets, which actually suffered the entire month of Russian occupation during the invasion in Ukraine. You might be wondering, Orest, where are the destruction? Where are all the bad things we see on the news? Well, in fact, there are many destructions all around, and we're definitely gonna touch this sensitive topic. But in this video, I would like to present this part of Ukraine not only as the pure war zone, but also as the location that has an amazing beauty. And we will combine those topics in one, hopefully nice and educational video. Welcome to Trostyanets. The town of Trostyanets has rich and proud history, so I would like to combine in this video not only the war topic, but also share a little bit of the landmarks of local places in order to have a more wider picture about this kind of settlement, because Ukraine is not only about war. There is really like so much more inside of it. The central and most imposing building in the town is this palace. In the meantime, we are going to enter this inside, but I would like to show you that part of the palace also suffered from the war. You can see some parts of the buildings are destroyed. There are some sandbags in case of some further escalation, and unfortunately this historical landmark is damaged. Yes, at the same time, look at this. This is Starlink that arrived here, providing internet connection, guys, to this imposing structure. So let's take a look inside. How does it look? And we will develop the story from there. The most famous owner of this place was a Russian industrialist, King Leopold Yegorovich. He arrived here in 19th century and built sugar factory. Actually, thanks to this person, village of Trostyanets turned into town, and many local residents kind of connect the history of the settlement with that person. So the entire villa was developed, and you can see here how it used to look like. And there is so much to see around. Here you can see the final view of the palace, like exactly 10 years ago, but not long time before it was really in a bad shape. So the local community invested a lot to make it look nice. However, now they're back to this kind of situation. Hope they will manage and will continue this great job. However, inside it looks pretty impressive. Well maintained, even in this crucial time. There is an art gallery and some event hall for official ceremonies, like wedding. So this is basically the extra service from the museum to make some fundraising and to help this particular place sustain themselves. Tchaikovsky room. Okay, so even the famous composer Tchaikovsky used to spend some time in Trostyanets in the 19th century. Wow, very beautiful. So what did he do here? What did Tchaikovsky do here?
Tchaikovsky lived in this building in 1864, three summer months, and in this building and this area he writes his music, his composition.
So basically he was pretty young back then, a young composer, and having the inspiration from the beauty of Trostyanets, he grew up to a much more famous and recognized person around the world. This is the last room dedicated to Mr. Leopold Yegorovich Kenning, that his name is actually associated with the development of the city, as you already realized, and he really made a lot of contributions to give extra job to people and simply put Trostyanets on the map. So basically he lobbied to install a railway line to the city, which of course is a artery blood of those times. And now let's go outside to this imposing terrace. Wow, just enjoy the surrounding park. Some beautiful sculptures over here. You see, the city was under occupation and now it is such well-maintained place. Unbelievable, guys. Another object of the local pride is the chocolate factory. Like, come close, I'll show you. So basically it was built during the Soviet times. It was looking like this, yeah, until recent time. It was built over than 50 years ago. And I heard that some parts of the factory were destroyed, so hopefully we're gonna see this today. What's important to understand that many international brands have been produced here. Like this is, for example, one of the most famous Ukrainian brand of chocolate. But if you come here, you will see world-renowned Milka and many others, including Oreo snacks and others. So it's really a lot of things are located in Trostyanets for such a relatively small town. So here you've got Oreo. I can see many chocolates from the Soviet part. Actually don't recognize most of them, but what I remember is Chaika, which is seagull in Ukrainian, and then a few others, and then this one, Olenka. The girl Olenka was also pretty popular when I was a child. Oh wow, that was pretty impressive. Such a large concentration of landmarks and historical facts for such a rather minor place, as somebody would think, but I already start liking Trostyanets more and more. Just in front of the palace we see regular buildings with the local residents. Some of them are still looking pretty old, some of them making some refurbishment. Yes, and let's carry on to the main square of the city. And this is something interesting, I think. Wow, feels like entering Corrida Square. Let's figure out what is this. Oh wow, so basically we just entered the inner yard of the former castle, which was built here in the middle of the 18th century. Basically it was one of the fortifications along the line which Russian Empire was building in order to push the Ottomans down to the Black Sea. Later, during the Soviet times, this place was neglected, and during the independence of Ukraine, some historical reconstruction events were happening here, like markets, and definitely they have many plans to revitalize this and to make it like a prosperous historical landmark. However, war and Russian invasion made some changes over here, and this place was made as the base for Russian artillery. Look at this. So these are the traces of heavy armors getting inside the yard. They were like stationed over here and firing up to different locations, including Ohtyrka, the town that we visited, and I explained this in the previous video, which is not far away from here. Obviously, it was very strategically good position for Russian forces because Ukrainians could not head back. Yes, this is the memory of architecture for Ukraine, and it's super important to preserve everything we can. So basically Russians, they were relying on this prevalence here, and like this place could not be destroyed, and thankfully it remained like this, waiting for its heyday and for the better future. There is basically so much more in Trostyanets, you see, so we've been only to two landmarks, but there are so many things around that worth exploring. Obviously, we're not going to do everything, but even the fact that there are these signs to different historical landmarks is actually telling us that they take tourism here very seriously, and I hope it will come back to life anytime soon. You can check out more on the travel options in Trostyanets on this website, traveltrostyanets.com, and in the meantime we will narrow down our tour to the war topic. I am very grateful that Ruslan is showing us around. Ruslan is a local entrepreneur who is living the life in Trostyanets and proudly showing us and explaining us everything. So now he will take us to a few places that suffered from the war, and on the way we can see the Trostyanets itself with some historical buildings.
Tchaikovsky. It's music school named Tchaikovsky.
Okay, it's a musical school named after Tchaikovsky. Some street, you can see people are around. Bike-friendly location, very quiet, very peaceful at the
Perspective, we want this
at this place. Okay, take a look, guys, what's happening here. You see the kids. Oi! What is happening? They are stopping us.
Добрий день.
Documents.
Журналісти із Хорватії, да?
Можемо їхати?
Can we go? Thank you. So we just passed the checkpoint which is made by the local children, which is kind of surreal. So they're kind of playing games, and I know that sometimes they collect donations to support Ukrainian army, which is pretty impressive that everybody in Ukraine takes the war seriously.
Here come two tanks, and we have video, and I can show you this video. Come here two tanks and straight shooting on this building. We don't know what is what is the goal of this, because in hospital in this time was just 20. It was doctors and people.
So this is hospital.
It's hospital, and when Russian tank shooting, here was people. No one Ukrainian military in this territory, but tanks come and just begin shooting on the building.
Shooting medical facilities during the invasion is actually the direct evidence of the war crime, and journalists are gathering all this information all around. Definitely here it was documented already, but this is another fact that Russian forces commit atrocities here in Ukraine, and definitely they will be punished and they will have to answer sooner or later in the war tribunal. Absolutely. So the ambulance is pretty brand new, and I see it's funded by the European Union with the EU and Polish flag. So what's the story behind it? Like
all medical cars in Trostyanets was destroyed, and when our territory was the occupation, everyone asked what we can do for Trostyanets. And first of all, we need ambulance car, because it's very important now.
You see, guys, so this is an example of the support, international support Ukraine gets, and it's really amazing. Just want to tell you that Ukrainians are super grateful for this attention and this aid that the entire world is bringing to us.
You can see.
It's written. It's a gift to Trostyanets community. So, Ruslan, what other help Trostyanets needs?
First of all, we need buses, because all communal transport which going around town and the villages for people is destroyed. Now we have only 3 buses which can make this, and we need all communal techniques, we need instruments, computers, chairs, all this is destroyed or stolen Russian forces.
You just heard this, so next to the video I'm going to provide direct link to Ruslan, to his organization, and if you see there could be some connection for cooperation, please contact Ruslan directly.
Yes, we have a website, help.trostyanets.com. Everyone can help Trostyanets if he want. Which we want, if we want, and all money we spend only for helping Trostyanets community.
So now we are entering inside the hospital to see how it does it look. Well, for the hospital, the silence is probably a good sign, guys, absolutely. I can even only imagine what was happening here during the occupation. He told that most of the doctors stayed in Trostyanets during the Russian occupation period. They didn't flee and remained with their community to help their local people. So this is the new X-ray room. It's amazing to see this very modern facility for such a rather not large town. The reason why I am showing this and why it's so impressive is that most of the medical facilities are very underfunded in Ukraine, and the city of Trostyanets took this huge hospital for its own, balance, I would call it, from the government only a couple of years ago, and now it's doing a huge and nice progress in terms of improving it and modernizing. Now we just entered a very nice maintained part of the hospital. This is the gynecology part where mothers are delivering babies. So young mothers are willing to come here, and as I see now, they did this job very well. Oh, the part you see which was newly refurbished, and it received some part of the explosions. Okay, so here it went inside.
But now it is now we
reconstructed. So
it's normal now.
Okay, wow. They were shooting from the outside.
Да, прильот от сюди був і пробив насквозь.
Да, оце отак навсквозь. Воно сюди пролетіло.
Tank bullet went from the outside, destroyed this wall, pierced this one, and went out here. And another tank bullet went from that direction. You see, hit this part of the wall, and next to this child went inside. I can only imagine how hard is it to see that you put so much work, so much resources. It's a newly done place where young mothers with kids actually spending the most amazing times, and eventually your country gets invaded, and what's even worse, the enemy tanks are shooting hospitals and the parts of the hospitals where the newborns are actually seeing their life for the first time. Obviously, that's tough to accept. And here we can see the peaceful and well done examples of regular rooms, which is a pretty high standard, I must say, for Ukrainian hospitals, especially in such a remote place.
Я вже тут в Тростянці вже прописку мені.
Так надо проще було прописатися і жити і не паритися.
The lady is telling, like, there is so much work to do. Half of the men are in the army, and I'm the only one who is refurbishing, starting all of that. Great job, чудова робота, great job. Thank you. Дякую. So basically, Trostyanets is one of those towns that met or seen Russian forces at the early stages of the invasion. I'm talking about the early morning of February 24th, when the massive invasion actually happened. Tanks, heavy artillery just massively crossed the border from Russia into Ukraine, which is only 30 kilometers down here. And Trostyanets, being positioned on the main highway between Kharkiv and Sumy, is a very important strategic position, because once arriving here, they could go in both different directions. Unfortunately, the city could not resist such a massive invasion, and basically this became a base for Russian forces in northeastern Ukraine for the entire month of their occupation. During this time, over 50 civilian casualties happened here. Obviously, nobody knows about, at this moment, the military casualties, but unfortunately for the local residents, they had to experience the Russian presence here for about 1 month. Numerous buildings are destroyed in town. For example, this is another one of the historical places situated in the picturesque park around. However, as you can see, now it's in a terrible condition, and definitely it will take millions to recover it. So in this location, the city mayor of Trostyanets actually met us, and he told that this place and the nearby other destruction happened while the Russian forces were retreating. So basically one day before their retreat on March 23rd, with tanks, they turned around and simply shoot on the historical place, the hospital nearby, just to leave the trace of their presence, and probably feeling not very well that Ukrainians are living better than them. Thank you, and I wish all the best to Trostyanets. Thank you for your time that you're coming.
Thank you.
Let's go inside, take a look closer. You see it's completely demolished. In general, inside the city, during the retreat of the Russian army, there have been recorded 31 shots. 31 shots, and yeah, like the destruction level is massive here, and obviously the city, the place was burning, so nothing inside left, just walls, guys, just walls. Historical walls are damaged, you see, and now winter is coming very soon. There is a risk it will continue to destroy. The only survival object is a kettle, you see, yeah, that survived. It can be put on the auction to make the fundraising. You see, to make the fundraising for the community or something else. And I really see that the local community and the city mayor, they want to do something good in this building, because it was not really done effectively before. There was some governmental institution, and now they tell, okay, let us rebuild it, and we will make another nice and picturesque object over here. And in the meantime, you might be wondering how the hell these guys are walking in all of that. It can collapse. Well, guys, it can collapse, but now in Ukraine there are so many destroyed places that from one part it can feel like a paradise for stalkers. Obviously, it's nothing to be proud of, but because of the war, the destruction level and scale is unprecedented. It's simply huge, and it hurts me, guys, so much that the war came to my country, to peaceful Ukraine. This particular street seen some heavy fights when Russians were here, and you can see that the civilian building is heavily damaged. Probably nobody lives here, or somebody lives here.
No. Our community budget will rebuilding this build, and we think that people after that come back home. But now it's not.
So do you plan to rebuild, to reconstruct it, or you will like demolish it?
No,
and build
it's yeah, we have an expert commission that say it's just rebuild.
Okay, it's livable.
Yes.
That's actually interesting case, because In the town of Ochtyrka, where I was showing you in my previous video similar cases when the buildings with residents were destroyed, some part of the building was completely impossible to stay, and unbelievably in another part people still continue to living. So here we can see that obviously nobody is staying here, but the building itself, the capital, the main structure is fine. This will have to be rebuilt. And also you might be wondering how many people died during the occupation period. So I heard like 50 civilians died.
Yes.
And what was the reason of their death? How they were killed or what happened to them?
As a rule, Russian forces sometimes take people from street, sometimes from house.
So basically most of those people were tortured, and this happened closer to the end of the occupational period, because at the early stages, let's say on the first days, first the Russian forces were taking some vodka, some cigarettes from the shops, yes. Then the next they started to loot all the supermarkets and get food for them. And the further situation was developing, they understood that they're not going to stay here for long. Ukrainian forces were pushing back, all their resources was kind of getting down. They started to feel more and more stretched, more desperate, and as we see, people became eventually the victims of this situation, with death, with destruction of places around, and eventually they retreated. The stadium looks so well maintained, surprisingly, yeah. Fortunately, it had a better fate than the stadium in Chernihiv, where I've been, and I can recommend you to watch the video from there. That was simply mind-blowing what happened. So, as I understand, one part of the factory is still operating, and that one is very badly damaged. This is a very big hit to the local economy, local population, because that factory was the biggest employer in Trostyanets. Actually, there are more destroyed locations than we thought, right?
Yeah, in the center of the town.
Like really a lot, even in the center of the city, guys, you see this kind of stuff. That's really massive. And on the opposite side is a kind of regular city life. Once this place was a busy and thriving market in the middle of town. Now it's completely empty, as you can see. Just next to it there are devastated ruins of another part of the market, which extends all the way next to the warehouses. Definitely this is new advertisement. It's shining, you can see, guys, in this skeleton of the building. Maybe the owner had his shop over there, who knows. Look at this small kid driving. Ah! Yeah, everybody has to drive. Oh wow, and this is also heavily damaged part of the town. Oh, some fierce fightings have been here. So we are approaching a train station, as I understand. Big battle, guys, happened here, yeah. In all the parts of the entire square is heavily damaged, and we see the Soviet tank. Even the tank is damaged. So Russians probably, when they came here, they thought, okay, we are almost home, and they hope that people will invite them with open arms, but obviously this didn't happen, and the motherfuckers left 1 month after. This square probably seen one of the biggest destruction in the entire town or area, and you see the scale of it. Yes, huge all around. So this was very also comfortable position for the Russian artillery to stand and shoot here the surrounding region. So basically, as I understood, the result of this particular destruction happened because Ukrainian armed forces were fighting back. Yes, and unfortunately during the war, as a side result, you have damaged places, but it was crucially important to get out the Russian artillery from here. So it's look at just, it's unbelievable. Now my mind is something really crazy happening. It's hard to understand really, because everything I see around is badly damaged. Actually, this Soviet tank is standing here to commemorate the liberation of Trostyanets from the Nazi army during World War II. But the most satiric is that now this very square, and this city had to be liberated again from the same Nazi who were coming from the eastern side. So you see, this place actually seen a lot. Guys, I think at this moment we have to stop shooting this video. I don't feel like handling this anymore. I really feel sorry for people who stayed here during the occupation. Most of the executions happened in the basement of the railway station, and what really I'm grateful for is that war is out of this place. Let's hope it will never come back to Trostyanets. Let's hope that Ukraine will soon win this unjustified war, and our job of our team is to continue traveling on those affected areas, showing you, telling the truth. And I sincerely encourage everybody, guys, to stay with Ukraine. If you would like to support our team directly, please consider doing so. Below the video there are links with a few recommendations and options how you can do, and we will carry on with our mission in the meantime. Stay safe, guys, and see you soon. This was Orest from Ukraine.